Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Babbling about Bridgerton for part 2 of season 4. We are here with our appropriate cups of tea, although it's less so about spilling the tea or any other such commentary. Is this second half of season 4 of Bridgerton, because it's quite noticeably darker than we've ever really
Yeah.
gone into before in
Mhm.
Bridgerton. I think there was elements of maybe the Queen Charlotte series that were a little bit dark, a little bit heavy
Yeah.
in kind of topic and subject matter. But I really feel like season 4 has tonally shifted. I don't know whether we keep this tone going forward. I think it may depend on individual story to individual story and whatever focus the given season is. But
Yeah.
there was a significant feeling dark shift that I got from this whole series, and I don't hate it. It felt different. It felt,
Yeah.
like a bit of a welcome difference at times, because we didn't want, or we wouldn't want Bridgerton to become very samey, and I think it
Yeah.
could quite easily get
Easily.
that way, given at the end of the day, fundamentally, it's about romance stories that are all okay in the end,
Yeah.
and that could feel like it could get a bit samey. I really feel like season 4, after watching the whole thing now, and obviously we spoke about part 1 when that did come out on our last episode of Babbling about Bridgerton a month ago. So do go and listen to that or watch that, of
Yeah.
course. If you are watching today on the It's a Wonderful Podcast YouTube channel, do subscribe wherever you are, of course, as well, and do the notifications and all that good stuff. But if you haven't heard what we thought about part 1 of season 4 of Bridgerton, do go and watch that, because we are going to be exclusively talking about these last 4 episodes
Yes.
today and what happens therein. So I think that was my first point I really wanted to make before we get into any of the little segments we've got segmented out today,
Yeah.
was that I liked that it felt like a welcome tonal change slightly, and certainly I would say a step up in an overall enjoyable season from season 3 as well, which I
Yeah.
still enjoyed, but there was something I feel lacking
Kinda
about
missing.
season 3.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I like that it did take this darker tone. I think it also is an improvement on 3 in the fact that we're not branching off to tell a ton of other, secondary stories. While we do kind of touch on what's happening with other characters, and other characters get kind of really solid moments to shine or for us to get to know them a little bit more, the focus is still very much whirling around Sophie and Benedict. So I appreciated that. I think with season 3, we were branching off with way too many different character plot points and storylines. And so our major couple didn't get the shine that they deserved. And I think
Yeah,
they probably felt like we know these characters already, which is why we don't need to give them any flashbacks, which is why we can take this
yeah,
opportunity to tell other character stories. But here, I think while we do get to delve into kind of Francesca stuff as her kind of second story is going to be coming, like her more focused story is going to be coming soon.
yeah,
um Stuff with Agatha, and we get a little bit with Hyacinth kind of getting ready to debut and things like that.
yeah.
We're still very much circled around our lead romance. And so I appreciated that as well. And also getting into the more, spicy stuff that this show is known for in this
But,
second
but,
half as
but
well. So,
definitely. I enjoy it. I completely agree with you. It gives much more time, it feels, to Benedict and Sophia, their own longing for each other,
mhm,
their
yeah.
own yearning, as a nice word we hear surrounding Bridgerton all the time, is the word
Yes.
yearning. We do get that quite a lot. And enjoyably, we get that quite a lot from Sophie's side as well in this
Hmm.
second half, because she was kind of trying to stop herself from really feeling any of
Yeah.
that in the first part.
Yeah.
You, it doesn't take too long for her to swiftly get into Benedict, and rather openly into Benedict, as this second part goes on. But I like that. I like the build of it all. I think the, shall we say, intimate scenes were particularly well handled in this second half of the season as well.
Yeah.
I thought they were very, not that I think they've not been constantly throughout the whole show, which admittedly I think I do. I would say that there's definitely a big steaminess though. I don't know if this is just Benedict and what we know of him being an incredibly sexual being.
Yes, which an interesting little moment for him to kind of admit just how kind of free he is in that aspect of his life. So I really appreciated him bringing that up. Although I did see somebody bring up another kind of like, I don't want to think about that comment of, this man has so many STDs. Like,
yes, probably.
Girl. Yeah.
Probably.
But
I mean, he says all the time he's very careful and all this kind of stuff, but there's no.
But how careful can you be in this era?
How careful can you be? There's no safe sex measures in the 1810s,
Yeah.
he's probably riddled, but there you go. Probably everybody was. We don't want to think about it.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's nice. The intimate scenes between Benedict and Sophie, I think, are nice. I mean, we can start with Benedict and Sophie's, romance itself, because obviously it factors into everything else we've got to talk about today. But it is the central thing, and I think it deserves, first and foremost conversation. Because there's obviously a fair amount to kind of figure out. I've titled it Benedict and Sophie Make It Work. Because there's an awful lot that has to
navigate.
That has to be navigated to allow this to work and to allow it to be a match and an eventual marriage that is seen in the public's eyes as completely valid, completely legitimate, completely something that enables them as a couple,
from shame.
Keeping the family from shame, something that enables them to continue within the society of the time. Because there's all this talk, and it doesn't take Violet very long to figure out, that Benedict and Sophie have a situation going on that they're not really disclosing to anybody. And there's that wonderful scene between Benedict and Violet of talking about love matches and why is this any different? I love
and
Sophie.
Her hypocrisy.
Why does this have to be any different? How can you tell me this is any different? You have always talked about wanting every single one of your children to be a love match. I do not want to be a disappointment to you, mother. I am telling you, I love this girl. How can we make this work? What does it all mean that society tells us we can't make it work? How do we make it work? And it's a pretty crafty old plan, to be fair. Into how they make it work in the end. I did think there was going to be a large revelation that would legitimize Sophie as a daughter, which we don't quite get, but it's this half trick that they all, with the help of Alice Mondrich, play on the Queen to make the Queen believe Sophie is a cousin of her own father, essentially. So, it legitimizes her in the Queen eyes.
Her in that way.
And nobody questions the Queen. So then it's fine. And it's crafty how that manages to kind of work itself out. I thought it was very smartly done, given that they didn't just do what I thought would be the most simple
I was
thing
going to
of
ask
just
you.
Discovering that there was a legitimate
father had legitimized her, in the will. So that's what I was going to ask you. Like, did you prefer it to be kind of something a little bit more crafty and kind of mixed up and not kind of the true and a half truth, rather than kind of like the more secure feeling of her father in the will legitimizing her? Because I think I would have been, I would have enjoyed that better because it wouldn't have been as complicated. But also I think I would have been a little bit confused because while she does get this sense of pride that her father did include her in his will and had a dowry for her, even to her
Yeah.
stepsisters, he still was a bit dismissive of her, keeping her a secret from Lady Araminta, and even when they were all lined up, he just walks right past her. So
Yeah.
there was a level of him that cared for her, but still othered her. So it would have been kind of a surprise to me that he would suddenly have in his will to legitimize her. Um,
Yeah.
considering he while he did care for her, he did have a bit of an indifference to her.
I think it
But I
makes the
think
most sense it being
yeah.
this way, because it shows that it shows Sophie that Araminta was a complete liar
Mhm.
and a thief, and it's fun in that sort of final episode when the tables are turned very swiftly on Araminta,
Yeah.
and she's the one who becomes the named thief and liar, as opposed to her trying to make Sophie out to be the big thief
Yeah.
and liar of the whole situation.
Yeah.
In everybody's eyes. But Sophie needed that revelation from the will that her father treated her and Rosie and Posy equal.
Yeah.
And that's what's important to her, because she thought her father just dismissed her
Didn't include her at
completely.
all. Yeah. Mhm.
Which rather annoyingly and rather sillily, really, she just took Araminta's word for it that
Yeah,
he
which
didn't
is
put her
so
in the will.
which is so
Why would you
funny.
do that?
Yeah. Which is so funny that Benedict just like, "Girl, like, this lady hates you. Why would you believe anything she had to say?" And Sophie's just like, "You know what? Yeah, I
I
did
don't
just
know.
kinda believe her. I really don't know." So I like the honesty in that.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know why I just believed her. And Benedict having to give her
But
that clear perspective of, "Girl, this lady hates you. This bitch
we need to
hates you.
go
Why
we
would
need to
you
go and see this will properly,
will
so
for
there's a little bit of
ourselves?"
a
Yes. So I like that it's like an obvious question, but because of just kind of where her mindset was at, it just didn't occur to her. So I like that they
yeah,
addressed that, but because I'm sure
yeah,
like the audience at home is asking, "Girl, like, why would you believe her?" But then you kind of have to just understand her state of mind of, because in that moment, she's not really thinking this woman has any ill will towards her. Um, so this is kind of like the start of the shift of the ill will.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
I
and
think
it's
you
like obviously
understand.
she's yeah, yes. But so I like that they address it as like a kind of like slightly dumb moment on her part, like, you know what? I didn't really think of that. So I
Yeah.
like that's how they kind of put it together. Do you like that the amount of grace that Lady Araminta was shown in the end? That it was
I
gonna kind of just be a silent, nothing will happen to you and your daughters as long as you kind of keep quiet about the truth.
I think I think I'd like to talk about that a little bit more when we come onto a section specific about
Okay,
Araminta and her kind of
okay,
how she's going about it, and obviously Rosie and Posy as her daughters as
yeah,
well.
okay.
Um, I think blanket statement. I think it's the most reasonable thing to do. Does it satisfy me the most? No. But
No,
do
no.
I think it's the most reasonable thing to do? Yes, probably. Um, but there's that great sort of little heist that they have to go through to get to see the will, to get
Yeah,
Sophie to see the will.
yeah,
Eloise gets involved in because the new Lady Penwood, we should mention this, is
yeah.
Cressida, who's back.
Cressida comes
Yay!
back,
Although not yay at
yes,
all, because nobody likes Cressida, obviously. Although Cressida's
yeah.
a little bit remorseful about
Yeah, she is
everything.
sympathetic. She tries to kind of put on these airs when she first arrives back and shows up at Penelope's house and is trying to kind of show off a little bit, and Penelope has no patience for her. But then she does kind of prey on her sympathies and apologizes and says, "I'm back and, I'm actually have made a love match."
Yeah.
Um,
The new Lady
but
Pen I am the new Lady Penwood.
yes, but the queen hates me and the Ton hates me,
Yeah.
so I need you to write something get me kind of in the good graces of the people, because even though I have status now, people haven't forgotten what I've done. The queen hasn't forgotten what I've done. So I need your help. And Penelope is just kind of like, sorry, girl, kind
Yeah,
of thing.
not gonna do that.
Um, yes. But I do like that, even though Eloise is kind of there to distract Cressida so that Sophie can kind of snoop around, I do like that they have a genuine moment because despite kind of the other awful things Cressida did and not really being a character that people are really meant to like, she did have some sympathetic moments in season 3, particularly when she did forge a true friendship with Eloise, and Eloise was
Yeah,
kind of being quite obnoxious in season 3. And, Cressida had that situation where she was gonna have to marry this gross old man, and Eloise
yeah,
witnessed kind of how terrible her parents treat her.
yeah,
Um, and it's like a very much a kind of a hurt people situation. And Eloise just kind of into her own crap that she wasn't there for somebody that she made a friend of and somebody who was there for her when nobody else was kind of there for her. Despite how terrible Cressida is, she was there for Eloise when nobody else was. So I like that Eloise does take a genuine moment to apologize for, not being there for her as a friend as Cressida was there for her as a friend. So I think we needed a scene like that to kind of at least see some acknowledgement from Eloise, in that situation. So I liked that they took this opportunity where we're kind of dealing with something a little bit bigger to at least kind of pepper in, a circle back to something that I think needed to happen.
yeah. It's a nice bit of resolve, I
Mhm.
suppose, or resolution for that particular storyline. I don't think going forward we need to be seeing over amounts of Cressida, to be perfectly honest with you,
Yeah.
but who knows what will happen. There's a particularly bizarre but interesting choice that the show decides to make at the end of the finale episode, in the revelation of a new version of a particular character that
Yes.
I'm not so sure about at all, really.
Yeah.
Um, let's just say for now, before we get into it properly, keeping it a secret's a wise idea, I think,
Mhm.
at this point.
Yeah.
People will know what I'm talking about, those who have obviously watched the show, and I would hope
Yeah.
that if you are
You're
watching and
watching this.
listening to this
You
episode,
watched.
you have
Yeah.
watched the show. We have given everybody, a good week as again
Yeah.
to watch the full
To
show.
watch.
So
Mhm.
they're not short episodes, are they? They're an hour and 10 minutes for an episode
Yeah.
of television. It's too long.
Yeah.
Um,
There's a lot of
but am
story
I
to
a
tell.
lover? There is a lot of story to tell, but am I a lover of the fact they're even doing that and bringing that back, or do I just think we need to move on as a show from that particular angle of things? I think personally we need to move on as a
Okay.
show from that particular angle of things. There's so much more interesting things to go on in the show, and I
Happening.
know,
Yeah.
okay, you can give the argument that the books, do things a certain way. The books also do things, or the show does things in a noticeably different way to the books, in principle. So
Yeah.
why are we getting precious about the books all of a sudden?
Yeah.
So, in terms of Whistle Down, let's put it out there. I know I've kind of bridged into this from we were talking about Benedict and Sophie, and I don't think we're finished talking about
No.
Benedict and Sophie.
No.
But why are we getting so precious about the books in one aspect, but then we don't care about the books in other
In
aspects? It's
another,
choose one or
yeah.
the other.
Yeah.
So I'm going along the lines of, well, fundamentally, as a show, you're deciding to not be 100% faithful to the books. So by all means, roll with that. And now all of a sudden, we're doing something like we're not bold enough to move on from Whistle Down.
Yeah, it feels like they kind of wrote themselves in a bit of a corner in how they handled the reveal of Lady Whistledown, because I do think the reveal was different in the book, because
Yeah,
that's the only book I've read is the Penelope book. So now they have to kind of figure out a way to keep it going because, yeah, They bring up a lot of interesting stuff with Penelope and the fact that, like, it's impossible for her to kind of continue this now that people know who she is. She's getting people,
Yeah,
complaining about her ruining their lives because they know it's her. They're not gonna be
yeah,
talking about gossip around her. She's not breaking any news because it's something everybody's already talking about. Um, People are coming up to her and giving her gossip, so it's not really a surprise. So yeah, how are they going to carry on this character now that Penelope is known? So, I think it's an interesting kind of surprise to reveal that, but ultimately, yeah, I don't know. I'm still kind of on the fence on if I like that or not. So,
okay, fair enough. I mean, to be fair, I don't necessarily think we need to talk any more about that. It was just kind of giving our opinions on the concept of a
yeah.
new Lady Whistledown. I had written it in one of my little segments,
Tab.
so
Yeah.
I'll just
Just
pop
popped
it up
up.
just to say it was
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, we
We've
did
already
discuss it.
just talked about it. That's
Yeah.
fine. We can go
Yes.
back to Benedict and Sophie now, because there's obviously so much here. There's so much that I love the slow build of everybody within the Bridgerton household coming to really work for this couple as well. Even all the housekeepers, all the maids, also from Araminta's side. Araminta's maids, all those who, she goes through them like flies go
Yeah.
through, a pile of manure, don't they? It's
Yes,
ridiculous how
and then it
frequent
causes yeah, and it causes Varley to do some horrible things to keep her
it
job that she
does.
ultimately
It
does feel bad
does.
about and gets her kind of in the mix of things. But going back to Sophie, I really do like that they set up for her to have these really great moments with each of the Bridgerton siblings so that they are
Yeah.
endeared to her. So that when she ultimately, because we know it's kind of this buildup of her becoming a part of the family, because you have to know it's going to work out.
You
It's
know
just a
what's
matter
going
of
to
how.
happen. You do.
Exactly. So now that we've established that the family really does care about her, and we see how much she cares about them, the beautiful moment she had with Francesca trying to get her out of the room when she was very much kind of struggling in her situation.
Yeah.
How supportive she is of Hyacinth and kind of all her excitement about coming out. Her having these nice conversations with Eloise. Her also, having this trust with Violet and Violet looking out for her as well. So we see the family endeared to her, so it's just like a matter of time. The people who work at the cottage also, really
Yeah.
having that, really liking Sophie as well. So it's all this really nice build up to set her up to be loved by this family. Um, I also loved, her trying to show a sense of integrity for quite a bit of the early episodes of this second half. You know, it's not about, her making sure Benedict understands why she didn't like that question,
Yeah.
why she has these hesitations and fears. They do ultimately end up sleeping together, before marriage and this whole kind of situation. So I liked that we address kind of the fear of an illegitimate child, and because she is an illegitimate child, and that whole
Yeah.
conversation she has about it with Benedict and why that scares her and why she is struggling to trust that he will keep his word in being with her, even if she has this child out of wedlock and her status and all of these things. So I like that
You
we do delve
understand it
into this
all so
a
much.
100%, and I like how understanding he is of all of that and listening to her and wanting to understand her perspective more. Um, and really not wavering from the pressure that he's getting from Antony, telling him that this is wrong, and his mom that's telling
Yeah.
him that's wrong, and even Sophie
Anthony's back.
telling him yes, and Sophie telling him even that it's wrong, and she doesn't want to be the cause of taking him away from his family, or her ultimately getting burned, or her being this kind of kept woman because that is beneath. She feels like that's beneath her, and the fact that she is a
Yeah.
maid who feels this strongly about who she is, to say that to him, to this nobleman, you really have a lot of respect for her.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
and everyone,
Absolutely.
even her best friend, like her fairy godfather, the footman from, her old house.
Yeah.
He, And such a beautiful moment. Like, I saw this really beautiful edit of him walking her down the aisle, and I was just like, "Oh, so sweet." Like, the
Yeah.
one man who before Benedict who actually, like, took good care of her and that kind of thing.
I I I
Um,
really do like that he was the one to walk her down the aisle at the
yes, it
end.
was really sweet. Um, so, yeah, I like that she has this kind of strength and integrity in who she is despite kind of her status, and, um, you really respect her for that, so
You do. And look, as cute as it was that Benedict drew up plans to move to my
the
cottage,
country.
rename it our cottage, which was very
Yeah.
sweet.
Yes, yeah.
But and say all these things like it'll be okay. We can go and live there, and we'll just live there. We don't have to get involved in society. We won't be allowed to get involved in society,
Yeah,
but we'll make it work. He's being a little bit over idealistic about it, and Anthony
yeah.
has to kind of come and slap him into shape a little bit and think
Yeah,
about
and
all that.
yes, and even, like, Violet telling him, like, it's kind of gonna have to be a choice. Whatever choice
Yeah,
and once he does kind of call out Violet, which you mentioned a little bit of, him kind of calling out her hypocrisy. You have always talked about you wanting your kids to be happy and find a love match. Well, I have, and now it's not
yeah,
good enough. And so, what does that mean that you were even saying any of that? And when she does kind of realize what their love looks like and you realizing how much she cares about Sophie, she um tells him, like, I will back your choice, whatever it is, but know that if you do choose Sophie, it you can't even take the risk to come see us anymore. We
yeah,
might talk through letters and things, but you can't chance, anybody finding out. So it would be kind of a choice. You wouldn't be able to come for birthdays or holidays or any kind of thing. So if that's what you choose, I see that your love is strong enough that it would be worth that choice for you. And I would be happy
yeah.
for you. But just know that you probably would lose your family because of just how this world is. So it is
Which is
it
obviously
I
why
like
it's very nice that they end up coming up with the crafty old
it
plan.
exactly. So I do like that, he has this, like, idealistic idea of it, like you said, but we do have Violet there to kind of show us just how big of a decision this is for
Yeah,
Benedict. And him making this choice of her, seeing that he does choose her ultimately shows how much he loves her. So all of that is kind of just laid out nicely to illustrate just how deeply in love he is with her.
yeah.
Um but yeah, and I loved kind of the build up to finally the intimate scene, and then we do get kind of like this old-timey period tracker of like, yeah, this would be something you would have to think about in
Yeah.
this time, and just kind of how cute they are after post all of that, and
There's
then
no
even
easy app to be telling you when
no.
you do these days.
Exactly, and then even kind of when the second time comes around that they do have an intimate moment, they have that concern, so they,
It's just like,
partake
"Oh,
in
yes,
some
let's not do that this time. Let's
they
do something
partake in
different
some other things, which was just as hot and really kind of a nice
in the
little moment as
bath."
well. Yes, because I think every Bridgerton couple has had kind of a very iconic love scene, and so
Mm.
I liked they got kind of their iconic kind of love scene situation. I have seen some really funny things that, like, imagine that, like, we see, Anthony in the office, and he's just looking through Benedict's drawings, and he sees the pictures, and he's just like, "Oh, that's Sophie." Like, Anthony would have probably
Yeah,
immediately figured it out, whereas Benedict
100%.
is, like,
But
drawing all these
An
pictures and still and looking
Anthony
in this woman's face all the time, and he can't
yeah,
get it. And everyone's like, I've seen the running kind of memes of Anthony would have, like, opened that desk to do some work, seen Benedict's picture, he's like, "This is drawn of Sophie," like, with the
yeah.
mask on. Oh, that's Sophie immediately.
Anthony, who has been there for, not that long, since he's
Yeah.
returned back from India with Kate, and Kate gets a couple of scenes as well. It's nice to
Yes,
have
and we
them
see
back for a little
yes,
bit of time, isn't
yes,
it?
and we see their heir, their son they've named Edmund, so cute.
Yes. Which
Yes,
also
so
throws Benedict for a loop in the fact that he's no longer the spare in
yeah,
terms of
mhm,
an heir.
yeah.
There's a direct line now, so
Yeah, and that was
kind of
his kind of defining factor, so he's kind of
yeah.
lost a little bit, yeah.
He has, but he does throw him for a bit. But I suppose in a sense, it gives him a little bit more freedom
Freedom.
than kind of maybe what he had anyway. And he seems like he has an
Yeah.
awful lot of
A
freedom
lot.
anyway.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But it's obviously really lovely how it all comes to be. We'll get into some of everybody else's kind of involvement in that as we go through the other talking points in this today. Obviously, we've already talked about the kind of questions over the new whistle down, but that was
Yeah.
something that was tagged on a little bit at the end, at the very, very end of the finale,
Yeah.
because Penelope does make the decision to stop doing whistle down at all, and move on. And I did really like that. Where this comes from, who's deciding to do this, God knows.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I genuinely have no solid theory about it.
Yeah. Yeah, so, like, it could be anybody at this point.
It could
Um,
be anybody.
yeah, is it a new character? Is it an established character? Like, yeah, so,
Yeah,
I don't know.
it,
I
it
don't
it
know.
really could be anybody. I'd like, though, to talk about a understandable yet deeply, deeply, deeply frustrating and annoying aspect
Yes.
of of this second half of Bridgerton season 4.
Mhm.
I've
Yeah, I
titled
know what
it
you're gonna say.
"Just Be Together for God's Sake," and this is Violet again, and we could talk about the
Yes.
hypocrisy Benedict brings up to her again,
I need
in
correction for this one.
constantly going on about, "Oh, love's the most wonderful thing. Oh, a love match. Oh, it must be a love match," and all this.
Yeah,
And for God's sake, Violet, we get that you loved Edmund. We get that you loved your husband. It's
yeah,
okay. Everybody understands that. But we had the great moment at the towards the end of the first part of this season, didn't we? I am the tea you'll be having. We have that.
yes.
Marcus
Mhm.
comes in very, very suavely, and it's a
Yes.
wonderful love scene between the two of them.
Yeah,
Not that it's anywhere near as intimate as Benedict and Sophie's situations that they have multiple of
yeah.
in these episodes. But what's all this about? I'm not too sure now. Um, she wants a situationship now,
Yes, and I
basically,
yes,
does Violet.
considering
And how long? I mean, I'm sorry. I like Violet Bridgerton, but how long are we stringing Marcus on for here?
he has
He's
been
being
so
overly
patient
patient.
with everything you've wanted. He's taken things at your pace, no rush, whatever you need, and in kind of getting caught up in this whole little scheme to help Sophie and Benedict be together, she's found this kind of, childlike sense of freedom. She's been
Yeah,
reminded of what it's like to not be just a wife and a mother. She's remembering what it was like to kind of have this sense of freedom. And in a modern world, I could understand not wanting to settle down. Because in a modern world, if you are a wife and a mother all your life and now you find yourself with this single freedom, you might want to go hook up with a bunch of different people, travel the world, go have a
there's
little
lots of
bit of fun.
options.
Exactly. But in this era, you're not going to be doing any of that. Look how frightful you were of keeping the bounds of propriety in place, just hanging out with Marcus. So, you really think now that you've found this kind of childlike sense of freedom that you're really gonna be able to act on it and, run around and experience other men and do these no.
No,
So, and is Marcus gonna be the type of man to hold you back from having little adventures and doing fun little things like Agatha does? No. So
no,
why
he's
are you
fully gonna
rejecting
be
this
there. He's gonna be there supporting you doing this whole thing. And
man?
I'd like to think it's why I say it's an ununderstandable yet frustrating thing, because I get what Violet has
Mhm.
seen throughout doing
Yeah.
this. I understand this. And it's not like she wants to get rid of him. It's not like she's just saying, "Bye, Marcus,
No.
I'm never going to see you again." That's
Yeah.
not what she wants at all. It is just she wants a continuation of what they're doing now rather
Yes,
than
I don't know
anything
if I wanna be a wife
concrete.
again. Yes, and
Yeah,
he's like, "I want a commitment," and that's
yeah,
kind of where their paths kind of diverge, but it's like, what's gonna be different about not being committed to him if he's the one you want, you know?
exactly. I mean, maybe this is my bizarre theory, but maybe this freedom comes from the fact that Violet Bridgerton is the new Lady Whistledown.
Ooh,
It's an idea. Look,
okay.
I'm just putting it out there as an idea, as a possibility, however slim, that it would at least give her a sense of playfulness, of
Mhm.
that she's kind of looking for, maybe. Is she the kind of person to do that? Maybe not,
No, but
but
it does give logic to this outlandish
it
decision
gives
that she's
logic
made.
to it. It does give
Yeah,
logic to it, and I need a bit of logic to it because it was
yeah,
illogical, her decision to kind of just do that. And I feel bad for Marcus
yeah,
because I feel so bad for Marcus. He's just been nothing but lovely. And
yeah.
what as the title says, just be together
Just
for
be together
God's
for
sake.
God's sake. Yes, your kids are fine with it. He is giving you everything you need, the patience, the love,
Everybody
the
loves him.
respect. Yes. Why? Why are you making this man struggle like this? Like, I just don't
Like it, and it's
understand it. And so, yeah, the only thing that makes sense is that, she wants the freedom to kind of play around with being Lady Whistledown and not having to be watched or be secretive with this man. That would
yeah,
be the only thing that would make this decision make more sense to me.
yeah.
So
I'm glad that you agree with my
yes,
logic in that.
100%. Yeah,
But it's not as though society tells you you can't marry again when you are a widow as well. It
yeah,
doesn't say that at this time. You can.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
and
like,
maybe
wow,
it's a fear.
there's nothing stopping you.
Exactly, and I mean, I thought maybe she would say some line about, like, not wanting to kind of sever the name from herself and her children, and not she would no longer be a Bridgerton. So
Sure.
I thought
Yeah.
maybe that would factor into it, but that's not even said as part of her reasoning, so
Oh, no, because that wouldn't matter because Anthony is Viscount Bridgerton,
yeah.
and what's he gonna do? Cut off his own mother? I understand that maybe, okay, Anthony
But
was the
just, like, the
closest
connection
to
to the name,
father.
like,
Sure,
emotionally is kind of the thing. Like,
sure.
she would no longer be Lady Bridgerton kind of thing. So, um, so I think maybe that was in my mind for her to waiting for her to kinda
Maybe.
say something like that, to justify to Marcus, but she doesn't even say that. So that's not even kind of a brought up issue. It's just
No.
more kind of
It
this wanting to live in this free feeling that she's having. But how free are you gonna be in this time, lady? Like, really?
yeah. Yeah. It's a funny one. It's a funny
Yeah,
one, that, I think.
yeah,
To round off a couple of smaller little Bridgerton specific, family Bridgerton
yeah.
specific topics, we have Hyacinth preparing for her debut, going through the whole
Yeah, this little
rigmarole of
recital was very kind of
yes,
cute. Yeah.
little dance recitals because clearly she's going to make her debut next
Mhm.
season. I think this has been, readied. She's
Set up.
been readied for
Yeah.
this kind of thing. But there's this ridiculously childish little dance recital that's going on.
Yeah.
And Gregory, the seventh child, is there as well.
Yeah.
Um, eyeing up a girl of his own. So that's
Yeah.
quite nice. And I saw quite a funny thing, a funny meme of whenever a Bridgerton boy sees a person of color or a woman of color, and they're just like, hello, yes,
Oh, they perk up
you,
immediately. Yes.
because Gregory's like all in for this little black girl, and
Yes.
it's just I love it
Yeah.
every
Which
single
I
time.
saw which I saw a thing that this little black girl is a 22-year-old woman.
Which is wild. What on
Yes,
earth? I
exactly.
now
She
feel
looked
disrespectful to refer I now feel I apologize.
Yes,
Why look 13? Do I
Exactly.
actually look
She looked
13 then
like
for this?
a small child, which I think Gregory, is he not supposed to be maybe like 15, 16?
15-ish,
'Cause
15s,
he's like he's
14-ish, yeah.
older than Hyacinth, so, like,
I guess 15-ish then. I guess he's supposed to
16,
be probably
yeah,
15,
yeah, yeah,
maybe 16.
yeah,
16 might sound right. 16 sounds right, I think, for Gregory at this point.
yeah,
But it's a bit of a it's fun because I think Hyacinth is so desperate for this,
yeah,
to finally she's the last one as well.
yeah.
She's so desperate to finally be
Out and about
known.
and like her sisters, and yeah, and we see her have a little bit of dance moment with, I think, the Mondrich's son. Like they have
Yeah,
this nice familiarity with each other when they go to dance, but she's more attracted to this tall boy, but this
yeah.
tall boy just proves to be very much a teenage boy. Like they dance and they
I
have a nice little
I hate this
conversation.
as well.
And she's kind of we've set up that she, like, knows kind of like what, when he gets you lemonade, that's like a big sign,
Yeah.
like, lemonade is, like, the key to all of this kind of we had this kind of set up conversation about how important lemonade is at these kind of functions. Um,
Because all the
and
older siblings are kind of guiding Hyacinth and
yeah,
Gregory throughout all this. It's really quite sweet. Like even
yeah,
Anthony's, Anthony and Benedict as the oldest too, are
yeah,
still like, yeah, chaperoning the whole situation. But this
yeah,
guy, this tall random dude who
yeah,
Hyacinth's kind of into, literally says the words, "Oh, let me go and fetch some lemonade." Now, what does that mean to you? Because I know what that means to me. That means
yeah.
I'll go and get 2
Do
lemonades and
lemonades for
bring
both
them
of us.
back for us.
Yes,
No,
and
what does he
Hyacinth
do?
gets
He
so
just
excited
walks off, gets some for himself, and then
and walks
leaves.
away. Yes, and she's like, "What?" She's so confused and, like, upset and annoyed. Yeah, so she has a long way to kind of learn. So I don't know if they maybe will set up something with her and the Mondrich's son.
Maybe. I don't know what
That could be
Hyacinth's actual
yeah.
story is in the book, to be honest.
No, me
I have no
neither.
idea.
So, yeah. So,
Obviously,
yeah,
it's probably the last book, isn't it? So it may sense. I
probably.
mean, it
But
might
they're all
not
kind of
be the
out of
last book.
order because
Yeah.
Benedict was before Penelope and Colin in the book order. So,
Oh, was it? Okay.
yeah.
Well, I mean, it all went wrong when it decided to start with Daphne. I mean, why start with D? What logic is there to start with D and then
Should we
go
just,
to
like,
A?
all have them fall in love in alphabetical order too?
Yes, yes, we should. If you want to be
Why
this
not?
precise about your naming conventions, yes, we should.
Oh my god.
Um,
Mm,
I don't know, nonsense. Anyway, um, I like the whole setup of these two though because I think there's going to have to be a bit more focus on Hyacinth and Gregory going into the next season as well because we're kind of losing Bridgertons at the moment.
yeah,
They're
okay.
all latching up to each other. They're all getting together with their own partners. So
Yeah.
who's left? It's the kids. It's the kids we remember that aren't quite kids anymore.
Yeah, but there's also
And
Eloise as
Eloise, for
well.
God's
Mhm.
sake, I mean, God,
Yes,
I think we spoke about this.
which
How on
it's
earth
up
you actually make
yes.
a justifiable romance with Eloise, I don't know. And I think I spoke about how it would be a great bold choice to not have Eloise's season be a romantic season.
Well, there was conversation. I think people had brought the question up to the showrunners and things, and they did say that Eloise is going to be with her book romantic person.
Okay.
So it's going to happen. But I
Oh, so
also have heard about
that's gonna be that the
Philip. Philip, who
yeah.
was married to, Marina. So, I had a whole plan, like, before season 3, I realized I was 'cause somebody was asking me about something, a theory about something in Bridgerton, and I'm like, "I think I made a video about that." So, I went to my Bridgerton playlist and realized I made, like, 60 something videos in anticipation for season 3 and post season 3 because I was so excited about it. And I had come up with a good way to get Eloise to talk to Philip, but things have changed to where that can't happen because I think what happens in the book is that she ends up, because Marina is originally a Bridgerton cousin, not a Featherington cousin in the book.
Ah, okay.
So I think she goes to write a letter to Marina, and then that's when she gets word. Philip writes her back to tell her that Marina has gotten sick and died.
Yeah.
And then her and Philip start this correspondence, and their story is like a love letters kind of story. But even then, I think I've heard something that people can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, that their love story isn't incredibly romantic. It's kind of just like, oh, well, you're single, I'm single, let's just be together, is kind of like what I saw somebody say
As a
about their
last resort.
story. Yeah. So it's not inherently super romantic. So I'm hoping if that is the case, the show changes that. But also, how do we get her and Philip to start kind of a pen pal situation?
Yeah.
Because my whole thought process to have that conversation was that Eloise would still be upset with Penelope, so she wouldn't have an ally or a friend.
Mm,
So she'd be looking for someone who also felt wronged by Penelope to kind of converse with. So that's when she would
yeah.
write Marina, because Marina was also kind of wronged by Penelope. And when she would write to Marina to kind of find an ally, Philip would write her back, "I'm sorry, Marina has passed," and they would start writing back and forth. But
Yeah.
her and
You
Penelope have
can't have
made
that.
up. So how are you writing, and she's not your cousin in this version. So how do you start a correspondence with Philip? How is that going to come about? Because they said it's still going to be Philip character.
Well, they'll
So
make it
how
work, won't they?
yeah.
I've no doubt they'll make it work somehow. It just will be the most fascinating one, I think, because
Mhm.
Eloise naturally, I think, is just the wild child.
Yeah.
She's the one who doesn't want any part of anything compared to anybody else. Like,
Yes.
even Benedict really likes romance. You know,
Yeah.
he really likes it. He might never have felt like he wanted to settle, but he
Well, I
really liked
saw
romance.
Yes, well, I saw somebody bring up this really good point that at the end of every season, there's a character throws down the gauntlet, saying something that ultimately the opposite comes true because they're the next season. So whoever kind of
Okay.
throws down a big gauntlet line kind of near or at the end of the season prior, we go into their story and they do the opposite. So at the end of the first season, after Antony was burned by the opera singer, he says, "My marriage will never be a love match. I'm just going to marry
Yeah.
for the status of my family." Da da da. He threw down that
Yeah.
gauntlet. He got a love match the next season. Um, then Benedict says the same thing. "I'm just going to have fun and I'm not going to be with anybody. I'm not falling in
Yeah.
love," and he falls in love. Um,
Well,
who else did we
I seem to remember
Um,
at the end of this.
Colin says, "I could never be with Penelope Featherington." And then he ends
Yeah.
up with Penelope
Yeah.
Featherington. So she brought up kind of these points where these characters kind of make these bold statements, and then ultimately leads to them doing the opposite. So she was kind of trying to decide whose kind of gauntlet was thrown down, because at the wedding, Eloise says, "Actually, I do kind of like weddings for the this and that and the other." Was that the gauntlet,
Yeah.
or was the gauntlet Francesca saying, "I'm done. I'm not trying to be with anybody again"?
This is
So,
exactly what I was going to
yeah,
say. Because I'm led to believe that the next season is going to be Francesca again.
Francesca.
No, we're getting quite an awful lot of Francesca, really. I think it
Mhm. Even in
bridges us
season 3,
into
there was a
exactly.
lot of time
It
dedicated to setting up her story.
Yeah, and her meeting John and getting
Mhm.
with John and marrying John and all this kind of
Yeah.
stuff. It
Mhm.
was a big significant part of season 3 as we're
Yeah.
bridging into this sort of final Bridgerton person focused little
Yeah.
point here before a few little last bits.
Mhm.
Um, this is obviously where this season gets quite sad because
Mhm.
really, really sad, suddenly quite heartbreaking. Something we had expected, something
Yeah.
I, having not spoken to you at length about certain things, would not have particularly expected to happen, but,
Yeah.
was made aware that this kind of happened and how Francesca's story, how Francesca's actual romance comes to be. I
Yeah.
honestly wouldn't have thought anything of it. I wouldn't. Would I have even recognised that? Hold on a minute. There was a Bridgerton sister having her marriage within somebody else's season. That doesn't
Yeah.
work, does it? Surely there should be one for her. Would I have
Yeah.
even noticed that? Probably not. It's me.
Yeah.
But It really, really was very, very suddenly morose as a
Yeah.
tone,
Mhm.
as an
Yeah.
atmosphere when the sudden, with the sudden death of John, and we'll speak to
Yeah.
this
Mhm.
in the loss of John, because John is, or John felt like such a steady presence, didn't he? He
Yeah.
felt like such a stable presence, such a pleasant presence, a very just good-natured, good-hearted, he'll always be there man.
Yeah.
And one night he's got a little headache and he doesn't wake up. Like, that's wild.
Yeah.
That's
And
a
you
that's a horrible way to lose a husband, a friend, a brother, any sort of
yeah.
relation
Yes.
any of these people were to John. It's an awful way to just lose someone that suddenly, and it really knocks everyone for a good chunk of
Yeah.
one of these episodes. Obviously, Francesca's in mourning, in constant mourning, constant black dresses for the entire
Yeah.
length of the rest of the season. And perhaps going into next season, i.e., potentially her own season, obviously.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
she may still be in black mourning dress. Um, but everyone's in black mourning dress. The entire house is in black mourning
Yeah,
dress.
shrouded. Yeah, and then also you have to kind of take into account all the societal stuff that happens now that, her husband's gone, she could lose
Yeah,
her home and all these, she didn't give
yeah,
him a child, and so she feels like a
yeah,
failure at that point as well, and all of these things she has to deal with, and so I love Benedict, despite kind of not really being the spare anymore, still taking on that duty with Antony not there to take care of Francesca and handle all this house stuff for her. And you know, I like that he takes his own kind of grievances with society out on this man who's come to talk to her about the status of her husband's job and the
yeah,
home and all of these things. And she thinks she might be pregnant, and so he wants to do a test right away, and Benedict is like and she's like, "No, I don't want to have to deal with any of that right now." And
yeah.
Benedict, just lays into this guy, and it's not just for her sake, it's also for his sake, just so frustrated with the rules of society and the propriety of
Mm,
everything. So I love that he gets out his own
bureaucracy
grievances
of
of
it all.
yes, of why he can't be with Sophie, also kind of this frustration of, like, his sister having to be forced into this situation so quickly after losing the person she loves. And despite them struggling kind of with the physical aspects of their relationship, there still felt like there was a love and a care, and that,
Yeah,
as
definitely.
she kind of said about him, when they had this kind of more lively wake, that Michaela kind of suggested, this more celebration of him,
Yeah.
that he was her dearest friend and like nobody understood her the way he did.
Yeah,
And
because she's
so it's such
obviously she needs, Francesca needs understanding in an atypical way
Yeah, she's
because
very
she
different. She's very kind of a little
yeah,
bit neurotic and maybe a little bit kind of OCD tendencies and organized and,
yeah,
I think
there's a certain on the spectrum quality to Francesca,
yes, and,
which I don't think should be
um
shied away from. I really have grown to appreciate this depiction of it because I think it's quite a realistic depiction of
yeah,
this
it's a
kind of
realistic
way.
inclusive that people are kind of dealing with these character traits and don't really have a name for them at this time, which was kind
Yeah,
of the case for a very long time, that there was no kind of name or
yeah,
diagnosis for this kind of, mentality. Um, and I think, part of the reason why she doesn't like Michaela is probably A, this underlying attraction that she's confused by and is wants to deny,
yeah,
but also the fact that she's very organized and Michaela is not. She's kind of
yeah.
chaotic, and that stresses her out, like, she doesn't know how to handle it.
I mean,
Um
I kind of there was one particular rather low-key hilarious moment when Michaela, I think, points out that Francesca has had the
or jigsaw
servants.
puzzles.
Yes, Francesca has had the servants position all of her jigsaw puzzles in alphabetical order on the
Yeah,
shelves, and
yeah.
if you are watching today's episode of Babbling about Bridgerton, you will see behind me a Blu-ray collection. What sort of order do you think that's in? It's not in a random order, let me tell you that. There's
No,
nothing
it's not
random about
in
this order.
order. Yes, and you also log all of your films in a computer database of from decade and
There's some
genre
sort of
and
there's some sort of
and
identifying factor I
yeah.
can have with Francesca in these times, I think. Just this little bit of something going on,
Yeah.
and I'm getting it. So I really appreciate what they were doing with Francesca. I really liked
Yes.
that she was able to tell everyone that it was just way too much,
Mhm.
and she couldn't handle all this right now because obviously the loss of a husband is gonna get
Yeah, she's
everybody onto you saying, "Oh, I'm
asking you, "Are
sorry.
you
Oh, my
okay? Are you
condolences.
okay?"
Are you
Yes.
okay?"
Mhm.
No, I'm not. And I love that the family comes to help her as well. The family comes to help Benedict and Sophie with their situation, and the family
Yeah.
comes to help Francesca
Yeah,
grieve.
even with the smallest thing that she's like, people are trying to talk to her about if she's okay, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, we're about to run out of biscuits. I need to get more."
Yeah,
And, her mother and everyone, like, looking like, "What? Why is she worrying about this right now? A servant can do that, like, what?" And she's,
yeah,
like, handing them out to her siblings, and they realize she needs us to take one. She needs to feel like she's doing
yeah,
something because then you kind of learn later that she feels like a complete failure. She failed her husband for not giving him a child, for not creating an heir, because now what does that mean for where she's going to live and what her future looks like? Um, and I loved her scene with Violet. Great, great acting. She kind of yells at Violet like, "You think we're the same now because we're both widowed,
yeah,
but we're not the same. You have 8 children. You have 8 pieces of your husband living and breathing. You did your job as a wife. I didn't. So we are not the same. I failed this man. I failed in my marriage. So stop saying we're the same. Stop acting like we're the same." And her just going off. Like
yeah.
Violet's really having her kids just go off on her, which I
She
think is
she
another
is.
kind of sobering reality for her that like my kids are grown. They don't really,
Yeah,
they don't need me in the way that they used to. I think they still need me, but not in the way. Um, but she still kind of, I like that because she kind of ends up kind of seeing her kids kind of have these honest outbursts to her. It's not from a place of like, they don't need me. They need me in a different way. I have to course correct. So when Benedict goes off on her with some real honesty, when she tries to kind of tell him it's wrong to be with Sophie, and he's like, "Hypocrite, you're over here sleeping with
yeah,
Marcus." And she's like, "Oh,"
yeah.
and then, um, "You
Because
shouldn't
he
be with
literally does
her."
say that as well, because Benedict's noticed
Yes,
what's going on there.
exactly. So not just that, but also him telling me hypocrite, telling me about love match, and now you're saying no, I can't have this love match. And so she's like, "Oh," and so then she course corrects. "I will be here for you. I will support you. I will give you that insight that this is what it's going to look like if you make this choice. But I
Yeah,
support your choice and I love you. I will help you fight for your choice and figure out how to make your choice work. Also, here is my grandmother's ring." Like that's how she
yeah,
helps her son in a new way. Francesca has this outburst to her. "We are not the same." She really has to kind of take that in and think about it. She doesn't take offense to it. She doesn't think her daughter doesn't need her. She takes her daughter in an embrace and they drop to the floor and she finally gives Francesca the moment to break because Francesca has been holding on to this kind of
yeah,
propriety and facade this whole time, and finally she allows herself to grieve and cry and feel what she's feeling and have this moment. And who does she have it with? Her mother, and in her mother's
yeah,
arms. So great scene, great acting from her in that scene for sure. I do also like how we evolve, because since we know where it's kind of going to go, how we evolve the relationship with Michaela, that it is
yeah.
kind of
It
this
becomes much
contentious
more
thing.
pleasant, doesn't it?
Yes, that we do see that kind of contentious kind of little thing at the beginning, which I also kind of was a little bit on Francesca's side when Michaela and John are up giggling, laughing loud at like
Definitely,
4 in the morning. And she's like, "This
definitely.
is
Go
our
to bed.
home. Like, go to bed." And she's like, "Oh, just let your servant sleep a couple hours. We don't have to do breakfast that early." And she's like, "Well, it's my home. I don't want to mess up the servants. Like, we're going to do
Yeah,
things my way." So I liked her kind of standing her ground there, but ultimately then when John has a really kind of stern conversation, she's like, well, what if I just, get her distracted by a man and then she'll be out of my hair?
Mm,
John's like, no. So I would like to know kind of like, I think we get the sense that John kind of maybe knew of
of course.
Michaela's status and, obviously had to kind of keep that private of his cousin who he really cared for. And I like that he's very kind of stern about that, but Francesca, makes a wrong move and doesn't listen and tries to
Yeah,
set her up with
a very
somebody.
wrong move.
And it causes a big fight, and John gets kind of upset with Francesca, and so she goes to fix it, and this is kind of when they really lay it out that, like, "You are too wild, you are too, stuffy," and they kind of end up coming to a common ground and laughing about it and finding that they
Yeah.
do have certain things in common. And so I like
And
that we set up this
they
really
end up
great groundwork.
going to breakfast the next morning, and John's worried that there's gonna be an argument at the table, and they both
And
come in
yeah,
laughing at each other.
exactly. And I like that John's last moment, he got to see them really getting along, kind of,
Yeah.
having a nice little laugh over the puzzle, before. So he kind of knew, if anything, she would be kind of in good hands. And so they do kind of grieve together. They do get along really well. They become incredibly close when they do have this kind of joyful wake that is more in line with, John's side's culture. Um, it is ends up being kind of this really pleasant moment. Everybody's dancing and celebrating,
Yeah.
and it's a really kind of nice thing. And Francesca's kind of coming back into her own a little bit. But then Michaela just kind of sneaks away. And so you have to kind of wonder the
Yeah.
why behind that. Maybe she felt some guilt for she realizes she's feeling something deeper for Francesca, and I'm
Mm.
sure she just assumes Francesca, she was with my cousin, a man who she clearly loved. There's no way she'll wanna be with me, and even if she does, wouldn't that be a betrayal to John? So you can kind of
Yeah.
probably guesstimate what's kind of going on with Michaela to feel like she kind of just had to sneak away in the middle of the night. So
I
really
mean,
curious to
you
see how
definitely
we
can.
kind of so we're really curious to see how we kind of get back to those feelings of how they're gonna kind of reveal that or build up to that because 'cause we've kind of laid
Yeah.
some really solid groundwork. So are we going to jump into that this season, or jump into Eloise, which, like, they haven't really established anything to
No,
set that up. So
I just
I
can't
wouldn't
see it
think
being that.
I would think Eloise probably won't be until season 6.
No.
But they've really laid
I
the groundwork for this to potentially be kind of the thing we're following and then simultaneously maybe building up to Eloise's stuff.
exactly, exactly. I just it's gonna be fascinating how they do it. Obviously, we know it's Bridgerton. It's gonna end up okay with them together. Somehow, it's gonna end up okay with them together. I don't even know how they will possibly swindle a, a gay romance in the 1810s.
Yeah,
I don't know how they're gonna do this. I
yeah.
I I don't know how they're gonna do this, but they'll have to. They will, because it is going to end okay. That's the fundamental of Bridgerton.
Yeah, she's
So
the stand-in for the male version of this character who they had
exactly.
a love match and all this kind of thing, and I think they adopt a child or something. I don't remember, but,
Unless
yeah.
unless they are doing another bold swing and it's tried and then it
To
doesn't
change
work.
the world. Yes, because it's like we've talked a lot about in this show how the queen's presence and her marriage changed society,
Yeah,
and there's a lot of talk about that here, about the queen having the power to change society again.
yeah. And what
So,
will
I
happen when
mean,
the queen is no longer with us?
yeah.
Because it's something like, I think the real life Queen Charlotte died in 1820 or something like that.
Mm,
So we ain't got that, that's about this time, isn't it? That's about this
ooh,
year
yeah,
we're in.
yeah.
So what if that happens? I
Yeah.
want to
So
say, I,
are they gonna make a bold swing for her to kind of change society again?
I
In,
want to say, and I'm actually going to do a little lucky look on this one because I want to get this right. Um, when George III dies as well.
Mhm,
When does George
mhm.
III die? Oh no, Queen Charlotte. Charlotte dies before George III. So in real life,
Really?
So
Mhm.
George III died in 1820. Charlotte died in 1818.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, that
Interesting.
we're not far off that historic, in that real bit
Yeah.
of history.
Time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so will they take a big swing and have her change the world again, change this world again, in kind of having the races mix and all this kind of thing that she
Yeah.
brought about in her presence and her reign? Will she do that again with, the fluidity of people? So,
Yeah.
um,
I mean, I think that would be a good way to bow out if I was Charlotte, I
yeah,
think that
mhm,
all
her
this
final kind of
fictionalized version of
act.
Charlotte.
Yeah, yes, but also kind of the struggle of, when we do get to kind of that section of Alice and being a
Yes,
goddamn
well, we
boss.
can bridge into that now if you would like.
Um, just the fact that they had to kind of trick her to dance around something that she could have easily just ruled not be a thing, you know?
Yeah,
So she
yeah,
still has this
they
sense
they
of
they did.
propriety, even though she has this full sense of control in changing things. And there's even this conversation between Alice and I think, Lady Danbury or Penelope in talking about, the queen, Alice kind of trying to figure out, or I don't know if she's talking to Violet or Alice in talking about the story so fantastical, will the queen be accept it and be
Yeah,
interested in it? And will that be enough to make her want to make a change? And Agatha, like, I don't know if that's enough because she's still very much like the law is the law and da 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 da, but you can change the law. So,
yeah,
would she make that bold swing? Especially when we saw her have the opportunity to do even a small swing with this maid situation, and she still
mm,
refuses to kind of there's a refusal for her to do that and still kind of adhere to the law, even though she is kind of the law.
yeah.
So,
It's
yeah.
it's a funny situation, and I think Alice's story ultimately in this is quite it's great, but it's quite
Mhm.
straightforward. She All it takes is for her to take on Agatha's ability to boldly speak to the Queen and be the only person who boldly speaks to the Queen and says, "No, I think this is the right way," or
Mhm.
something along the lines of that. Alice does that a couple of times now in
Yeah.
this last half of the season,
Mhm.
and the Queen endears herself to Alice. You know,
Yeah.
in a manner of speaking, I still think she's like, "You could have done it a little bit differently next time, Mrs. Moggridge,"
Yes.
and
Yes,
all this
but she
kind of stuff,
spins it
but
in a
okay.
way. Yeah, but
And
she
then she has a
knows how
little
to
bit and
kind of
then she has a little bit of a smirk on her face because she knows actually that she quite likes what's just happened.
that yes, that she's kind of defied her wishes, but found a way around it, and also found a kind of reverse psychology way to make the queen feel like it was her idea, or she
Yes,
was
and
inspired.
has
I was
have a bit of
inspired by the way.
fun.
Yes, I was inspired by how much fun and gossip you like to have, queen. I was inspired by all the things you love to make this ultimate decision, kind of
Yeah.
thing. So,
Let's have a bit of fun, your majesty. Yes, okay, let's have a bit of fun. Agatha, are you going to come and have a bit of fun? No, I'm going now. Um,
yes, but their
why?
scene was also
But
really
but you
sweet
can
with the
have
2
oh,
together
it's
too. Yeah,
so beautiful.
yeah,
But I I think Alice and the Queen are going to really come to understand each other so
yeah,
well and so
yeah,
clearly. Um, and for Queen Charlotte's final however long left Charlotte's got in,
yeah.
until
If we're even sticking to
if
that,
we
because for this
even
world is
if we even
because
stick to that, sure,
yeah,
I'm getting too hyped up in the real
on the real
history.
history. Yeah,
If we, I wouldn't like that to happen. I love Charlotte as a character;
yeah,
she's
mhm,
great. So, but she needs an Agatha replacement. She
yeah,
needs an Agatha replacement, and it's
yeah,
nice to see that Alice is going to embrace that
yeah.
and,
I like how kind of just
wholehearted.
yeah, and I like she's like, "I have to do this. I have to, take this hit and take this chance to defy the queen or upset her
Yeah,
because true love matters, and these
yeah.
people
It will
need
help
my help."
Benedict and Sophie.
Yes, and I would not feel good about myself if I didn't do everything I could to help these people be together who deserve it. So I love how just kind of resolute she is in that decision,
Yeah,
in knowing that it could upset the queen, that it could mean her head on a platter. Like, she is still going to take this chance and hope that the queen appreciates her boldness. And it works out. So I love how confident she is. I love that her husband is very much kind of like backing her up as a boxer
oh
and kind
yeah,
of giving her that kind of fighter perspective and the kind of
oh
little
yeah,
playful fun boxing scene they share. He's like, "You can't be a boxer's wife and hit like that," and that whole kinda, so I love how supportive he is of her decision and all of that, and I love just kind of her getting this really fun moment to shine, to really, move her character and that family's character into the spotlight for a little bit, and
yeah,
giving them something really important to do. So
yeah.
I loved all the Alice stuff. She's a badass. I love her. So
Absolutely. I mean, she's the one who uh, manipulates the situation at the very end, guiding
mhm.
Araminta
Yeah,
into a oh, the Queen's been asking for you, Lady Penwood. Oh, let's go. Oh, yes. Well, what's going
yeah.
on here? The Queen's finally, I didn't think it'd. I thought it would take a little bit longer than that. Come, children, come. And all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We should say as well, Rosie and Posey. Rosie has that situation with Lord Stockwood or whatever he's called, somebody like that. It's
Oh,
Stotter,
yeah. Yeah.
Stotter, who, and there's the whole situation that we've talked about before with this dowry thing
Yeah,
of
and the will.
Sophie's, that about the
Mhm.
will, how this all came to be. Obviously, let's move on from Alice Mondrich now and talk about bitter Araminta.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah.
Um, because Araminta had essentially stolen what was Sophie's dowry and added it to Rosie's.
Yeah.
Because she loves Rosie more than she loves Posey. I know the stupid names. I don't know why they called this. I really hate saying them.
She felt like she had more chance to get with somebody.
Yeah.
Also, she was getting extra money every year she kept Sophie on,
Yes. Yes.
and
And
so that's why she kept her on as a maid
she wasn't supposed to keep her as a maid. She
as a
was just
maid.
supposed to
Yeah.
keep her as a stepdaughter, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but it ends up being that Lord Stotter becomes upset with the fact that the dowry that was promised to him for Rosie is now going to have to be halved, and
Yeah.
that doesn't get anywhere. But Posey ends up finding some
Yeah, and she
sweet-looking
gets some
guy.
really s and she gets some really sweet encouragement from Eloise, because Posey gets
Yeah,
a little bit to do, like, there's kind of some scheming with Lady Araminta and Varley, and, she kind of ends up trying to put Varley in the position that she was kind of in the Featherington house to kind of sneak
yeah,
around and check on things. She knows Posey has an endearment um, to Sophie, and I think it's all come out now. She's learned that Sophie's at Bridgerton's house right next door,
yeah,
and so, Araminta goes to Bridgerton house to try to find Sophie, but Sophie's able to kind of evade her. Posey sneaks away to give her a warning, and ultimately, Posey does get tricked into kind of revealing a little too much, which helps
yeah.
Araminta as well with that whole situation of trying to get Sophie in trouble. She's kind
I
of
mean,
starting to spread
Araminta
word
does get
around.
Sophie in trouble. Sophie ends up in
Yeah.
jail for a bit.
Yeah, she starts kind of spreading word around that she's a thief, and so that brings up a really great scene of, she goes to the Bridgerton house and talks to Violet and tells her that, "Oh, Sophie," and Violet covers for her beautifully, and tries to
Oh
kinda
yeah,
say that she's a thief, and ultimately, Violet goes to the servants' quarters to talk to Sophie and tells her, "I believe you. You asked for a letter of recommendation because Sophie's trying to get out of there, because this is when Sophie's still trying to leave because it's too difficult to be around Benedict, knowing that she could, you know, she doesn't want him to have to choose between her and his family, and this whole kind of thing. So it's not out of
yeah.
not wanting to be with him, it's just the difficulty of her not being able to be with him the way she wants to be with him in a proper
And
way. She
also, if
doesn't
her
want to be his secret.
And
So,
also, if I remember rightly, this is after the point where Sophie's actually come to the realization that Araminta's the one who's just moved in next door.
Yes, so she learns that as well, and Violet warns her, "She really is out to get you. I don't want you to leave, but I think it's probably in your best interest because she's close by and she's looking to hurt you.
Yeah.
So I think you should really try to figure out how to leave," but all these things kind of happen to ruin her opportunity to move to another house, to even go back to Penwood House, and be there with her friends and
Yeah.
to work for Cressida, but that whole position kind of falls through, so then she ultimately gets the opportunity to work for a family who's moving to America, and so she just
Mm.
decides to kind of take that choice even though it's going to hurt her, and everything kind of becomes revealed for Benedict, which he also kind of has a stupid moment where he's telling Sophie, "Why would you believe this lady about this will? She hates you." He also
Yeah.
has a moment where Sophie can't find her necklace. We see several scenes of her, like, talking about it with people and forgetting that, "Oh, I lost my mother's necklace." And we see Benedict find it in his room after their, tryst. And,
Yes.
he starts to realize something, and he looks through his pictures, and he did draw a picture of the woman with the mask, wearing that necklace. And so it's a very kind of stressfully cut scene where Sophie is
Yes.
getting ready to leave to go to the family who's going to the Americas. She's left the glove there. She's finally just kind of given up on this whole relationship because they just can't be together in the way that she wants to be together. Benedict has run off to the house to get her and propose. Um, and yeah, as she walks out, she gets arrested. Lady Araminta
Yeah.
has said she's stolen the shoe clips, which the shoe clips Posey gave her to sell, and it turns out they were just, cheap plaster, they weren't even worth anything.
Yeah.
Um, and right as she gets carted away to jail, here comes Benedict out of the house looking for her,
Yeah.
and yeah, and he gets word, so he thinks that she's off to the Americas. So now it's like
Yeah.
that cliffhanger episode ending was so rough because it's like he
It,
doesn't
oh, it
know, he
was.
thinks yeah. So that whole kind of thing of Lady Araminta really just messing with Sophie. She goes to visit her and taunts her and says, "I'll let you go, but you have to admit that you're a thief," and this and that and kind of the other thing, because it's not enough that Sophie will be in another country. She doesn't even
No, no, no.
she still wants to punish her. So she wants to make her look bad. She's kind of spreading the word that she's seduced Benedict, that it's not anything about love, that
And
she's a
thing
thief.
is, we have to ask ourselves why. Why does Araminta want this? We get, for what it's worth, an explanation from
Mhm.
Araminta when Alice Mondrich does her whole thing. The Queen comes into play, and it's all figured itself out that Sophie
Yeah,
is actually going to be living the rest of her life as her own father's cousin.
yeah,
And that's going to be fine because everybody's happy now. Araminta kind of goes off at that point.
yeah,
You stole him from me. You stole him from me.
yeah.
What does that even mean?
The
I'm
the
sat there
the
going, what do you
typical
mean?
stepmother plight, like, he had all your affection and love, and, um, you were a surprise to me as well. Like, she feels this kind of betrayal that he never told her about. Like, she loved this man, and she felt like some kind of betrayal that he didn't tell her about Sophie
But what you're
beforehand.
telling me here
Is
then, Araminta, what you're telling me here then is that you were actually mad with your deceased husband,
Mhm,
not with Sophie. So you're taking
but he's
all
not
this out
here.
on Sophie.
Mhm. That's always kind of the stepmother story. This man abandons her in her mind, and so who else is left to take it out on but his child, for the sake, and you
It's
convince
awful.
yourself you're doing it for the sake of your children.
Yeah. I mean, it's awful. And in my eyes, it's a completely nonsensical reason.
Yeah,
Um, it's obviously a reason that Araminta wholeheartedly believes in, and is why she is so bitter about the whole situation and
yeah.
turns into a massive, horrible thief herself.
Yes, oh my gosh, but even that whole courtroom scene when
Oh
Violet and
God.
Benedict bust in there because they're freaking out about the Americas, and I love that this is all happening in front of the other kids, and they're like, "Wait, what? What's happening?"
Yeah.
Like, so now,
It's like
you know,
Benedict's in love with
love
Sophie,
it,
for God's
Sophie.
sake. Come on, let's go and
Yes,
sort
and
it
they're
out.
like, "What?" And
Okay.
so then her best friend, the maid, I can't remember her name.
Hazel.
Um, Hazel, she comes in and because her uh Varley feels guilty, so she's gone and she gets the truth of what really happened. She figures out that,
Yeah.
like, oh, Lady Araminta kind of exaggerated that she was a thief and all these things. It wasn't like that. And Posey even admits, I'm the one who stole the shoe clips and gave them to her, and this whole
Yeah.
kind of thing. So Varley talks to Posey, I think, and gets kind of the truth of the situation. And so she goes to Bridgerton House to clear the air and say what happened. And then Hazel goes and tells the Bridgertons the truth of where Sophie really is in all of this. So then, they bust in the courtroom like the People's Court music. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, yes.
Dun, 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 dun. Just
Like
charge in there.
Proper
and it's like
courtroom movie. Stop this trial kind of attitude.
Yes. And the judge is not having it, but I love how they are just fiercely in defense of Sophie and standing up to Lady Araminta as properly as they can. And they get a little nasty and the judge has to like rein them in. But I loved it. I loved that scene as well. Them just kind of like, throwing it back in Araminta's face. But I was surprised how strongly she was still kind of holding her ground with these two very kind of status people, going against her. I thought she would kind of cower down a little bit, but I was like really kind of impressed and irritated and hating her more. Great performance. That she wasn't holding her ground and holding her lie and position against Sophie when these people were coming at her, and seeing who Sophie has in her corner, she still was not backing down. So I was like, oh, she is a formidable villain here. So
I think I said it in part one. It's a very, very impressive performance from Katie Leung. In this role, I really like this very, very evil character, as an evil character, as a completely spiteful character that she is. It's a great way of doing that sort of character. Very, very successfully. But we can now, I think, answer the question you posed at the beginning of the episode, which was, let's remind ourselves, Jeannine.
Do we like that she was shown so much grace? Do we like that she didn't get kind of her just desserts? Do we like that it wasn't like a put her in jail, boo her out of the ton like kind of situation? That we're going to be like, if you don't talk, we won't talk, and we won't tell everybody that you're a big fat liar kind of situation. The worst that's going to happen to you is your daughter, who you lied on, is going to lose her proposal, which she does. And you're going to be kind of struggling you're going to be struggling to kind of find any kind of opportunity because now that this is going to kind of spread, that you don't have the kind of backing that you said you had kind of situation.
You're going to have to deal with lesser matches.
Yes. So is that enough of a punishment? I think she deserved more, but I also agree with you in the fact that, like, what else could they do? And it's like, also showing just how good of people the Bridgertons are. Like, they're not out to be malicious with people. I think
our tendency is we like a good revenge, don't we? So it makes sense that we would want that. I also think there's an element to this that, in order to get full revenge on Araminta, if you want to call it that, it's a poor phrase to use in this context. We're not talking necessarily about revenge. But if you want Araminta to feel
justice to be served in
on
her account,
justice to be served, for justice to be served, then the Queen has to know more. And we can't have the Queen knowing more than what she knows. The Queen knows a very specific thing that isn't the truth, but the Queen believes it to be the truth. So that's what's important. In order for Araminta to be shunned, I do think the Queen would have to have something to say about it. And in the Queen's eyes, there's no reason for Araminta to be
because
shunned.
all of this is like, we're holding this secret as long as you hold our secret, and it would affect Posey, who we love, so we don't want to see that.
Yes, that's true.
Chances, especially because we see her have a cute little match on her end. So
we do, exactly. Well, lastly, and quite quickly, I do think,
Yeah.
Jeannine, I think it's only right that we end today's babbling about Bridgerton, the last until season 5 is upon us, whenever that may be, or
Yeah.
if there's another spin-off, I've heard I've heard rumours that there may be other spin-offs in the works, like we have the
Yeah,
Queen
I would love
Charlotte.
to see, with Violet and, like, her finding this newfound kind of, like, love that reminded her of, her youth.
Yeah,
Them reminding us of who Violet was and in her younger life, and hearing constantly about this grand love of her and Edmund, seeing her and
yeah.
Edmund's love
I
story, seeing her kind of be this wild child a little bit in her youth, that would be a great spinoff. A young Violet
yeah.
spinoff would be.
I think
I
that
think people are clamoring for that. So they've
there's a
set
few
it up
things.
really well.
Yeah, there's
So
a few things they could do, and I would like to see it, but you can rest assured that whenever Bridgerton returns, we will be here with babbling about Bridgerton. But of course, we have
yeah.
to end with goodbye, Agatha, because
Yeah.
I think she ain't going to be there next season. She
Well,
ain't going to
I
be.
saw I saw little
Is
things
she?
saying that she will still be a decent part of season 5. I just read something that said that, so
Oh well, this. Oh well, my poignant
they'll
ending to the episode has failed. Then.
so they'll find a way to work her in, I'm sure, but, yeah, I saw a thing that said, she'll still be around, so who knows how little, how much? Because a lot of characters here didn't get a ton to do, but I appreciate them coming back, and I think fans do as well. I think, people are
Yeah.
still a little bit frustrated with our first coupling who have just kind of like, we have nothing
Oh,
to do, so we're not really
incredibly.
gonna come back. It's like, but it's like, and
Just do it.
Jonathan Bailey has done 2 big, huge movies, 3 huge, big movies in the
Jonathan
time
Bailey.
between,
Jonathan
and he
Bailey
still
is
and
actively now massive.
he
Simone
still came
Ashley
back
is
to
actively much bigger than she was when she was on the show now.
yeah.
They're coming back,
Yeah, and
you
they're happy
know?
to do it, so, like, I don't wanna hate on, Reggae too much or, I can't remember
Phoebe
her name,
Dynevor.
Jennifer. Yes, for, feeling like it's not worth my time, but it's also just like, mm, just come on,
One scene.
like, it's weird. You're not at your brother's wedding, like, it's weird. Like,
It is weird.
it's weird when
It
you're not
is
at these
weird.
big events. They were able to kind of work it in nice season 2, have Daphne come back, "Oh, Duke is busy with things, whatever, whatever." But
Yeah.
ugh, it's just kind of annoying. Either recast them or just like, but it's like nice to see smaller characters come back. Even Colin had nothing to do, but we get this cute
Nothing.
little scene with him and Penelope's brother-in-laws and Gregory having their little weekly boys club where they eat and talk
Yeah.
about whatever. So it was cute, like peppering in little character moments like that. Um, but so I mean, I don't know if Agatha will be relegated to things like that small little kind of pop-in moments or
Maybe.
letter writing moments or whatever, coming in
But
for a
she's
big ball
certainly
or something and then going back to whatever she's doing.
yeah.
Um,
But look, she's certainly taking a step back as a
yeah.
character. You
Mhm.
know, we've spoke about this. She wants to go back to her homeland. She wants to
Yeah.
travel before she's far
Mhm.
too old to do this sort of thing. But mainly, this last point is to do with the sweetest of sweet little moments between her and Charlotte at the
And her and
big
Violet
Queen's ball.
as
And her
well.
and Violet, yes, absolutely. But at the Queen's ball,
Mhm.
when Charlotte really just comes to terms with the fact that this is the last ball that they're gonna
Yes,
have
and their last
together
kind of
in
little
place.
shenanigans, in this whole kind of wild situation and this whole little kind of, uh, um, kinda shenanigans that they got set up and have to figure
Yeah,
out and all of that, and they were like, "That was fun," and they just giggling like girls and laughing
yeah,
at how fun it was to kind of have this fun little play of a situation play out, and they just take each other's hand, and Charlotte says, "I'm going to miss you," and Agatha just can't say anything, and then we
yeah.
pan out to this picture of them as girls, so we see the young
Mm,
versions of them from Queen Charlotte, just to pan out to that painting that's just right across from them. It was so sweet. I was very
it's
emotional.
very sweet.
Yes,
It's
just
very
them
true.
giggling and being like young girls again, and the queen showing that vulnerability and just saying, I'm going to miss you. I shall miss you." Kind of
Yeah.
it was so sweet. And I like that she got this nice moment with Violet because their friendship has been great to kind of see as well,
Oh, yeah.
especially kind of learning about, I liked that congruent story that was happening during Queen Charlotte, where we saw Agatha having the relationship with Violet's father,
Yeah.
and Violet kind of learning about that, but ultimately she loves this woman, it's her friend, so no ill will there, and getting a nice goodbye and kind of their teamwork that we've seen them show in kind of setting up her children and that whole kind of thing. So
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Good season, though.
Mhm. Really good season. I
Really
did
good
prefer
season.
this to 4.
Really.
What would your order be as of right
Oh,
now?
well, Queen Charlotte is at the top. I know this
Ooh.
still.
Mhm.
Queen, I would say it's tough to say. It's honestly tough to say because it's been so long since I watched. I struggle enough with the rankings on Morgan hasn't seen, and those are movies I've watched in the last month. I haven't
Yeah.
watched season 1 for years. I haven't watched season
Yeah.
2 since it came out. I haven't watched everything since it came out. So
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm supposed to think about a ranking.
Okay.
Logic would put Queen Charlotte 2, 4, 1, 3, I think. But
Okay.
in a top 5.
Yeah, I think
But
that would be mine as well, and I hate that because 3 was my most anticipated. 3 had the best potential. 3 was the one book I really wanted to read, and the things that happened in that book didn't quite get executed in the show. And it like, there was so much potential with 3, so many great moments in 3, but yeah, like you said, something just felt like it was missing from season
it
3,
was
so it
just
sucks that
lacking.
it's
Yeah.
last. It was lacking, but, all good seasons, but yeah, I think that would be my order as well, although I think I might put 2 first and then Queen Charlotte second,
Okay. Okay.
but I
Does it
could
help? Does it
interchangeable,
help? Does it help that 2 possibly had like combined the best looking duo?
You think so?
Probably. I would say so. If I'm thinking about combined, I would definitely say so. Like Jonathan Bailey and Simone Ashley, if you're averaging the good looking qualities of
Okay,
every one
of
of the
them to kind of how they look
members of
together and everything.
every one of the members of the couples out, if you're averaging
Mhm.
them as one thing, like there's some good looking couples here. Don't get me wrong.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah.
everybody,
Everyone
sure,
is
fine,
hot.
but I think we're on a little bit of a different level with those
Okay.
two, to be
Which
honest
is
with you.
funny though too, that, like, I think season 2 is everyone says season 2 is their favorite, like, from everyone I've heard from, yet it's the lowest rated, like, on, I think, Rotten Tomatoes.
Well, that just
So,
shows you
weird.
how nonsense Rotten Tomatoes is, doesn't it?
Yes.
And we should never
Yeah.
pay attention to it in any
Yeah.
sense of the word ever.
Yeah.
But that's going to do it, I think, Jeannine, for babbling
Yeah.
about Bridgerton for another season. It's been such a delight to be back with this
Yes.
little show for 2 parts.
Mhm.
On here, we've had fun listening. Well, we haven't had fun listening. We hope you've had fun listening.
Yes.
I'm tired. Um, we've had fun talking about
Yes.
Bridgerton, of course. But do subscribe wherever you are listening to this episode today. Of course, if you have been watching today's babbling about Bridgerton, do subscribe and ding your notification bell on the It's a Wonderful Podcast YouTube channel. Things have been scrolling down at the bottom of the screen all episode long as well. But if you are just listening, you can subscribe wherever you are listening on all major podcast platforms. Leave your comments on Spotify, rate and review, and like and share, and all that good stuff everywhere else. What else? If you would like to support us on Patreon or donate in any way, you can find links to do that in the description of today's episode. This show is part of our TV-based Mondays that we do here on It's a Wonderful Podcast, alternating through various shows. Diving into Doctor Who has now returned for,
Mhm.
that's our steady show at the moment is diving into Doctor Who. We will be putting another show into the alteration very shortly as well, in only a couple of weeks' time. And what Morgan hasn't seen is there every Wednesday, of course, David Lynch throughout March on that show, and Ida Lupino directs throughout March on It's a Wonderful Podcast, the main show, celebrating old movies like we love to do the most on this feed, channel, whatever you want to refer to this as. If you would like to find us on and across all the social medias, you can do that on the app formerly known as Twitter and on Blue Sky at It's a Wonderful One. You can find me on the app formerly known as Twitter at the Purple Dawn with the 3 instead of the E in the because, Jeannine.
3 is a magic number.
On Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky at the Purple Dawn. All your Bridgerton tea is where.
You can find me Jeannine Bean _ on Twitter, Jeannine Bean on Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. And if you want to get any merch for any of our shows, just check the description for the link or search Jeannine Design on tpublic.com.
And for the last time in maybe quite a while, please see us out. Maybe not quite a while, given her appearances on Doctor Who. But, you know, if maybe the first time in the last time in quite a while. Please, Agatha, see you.
3, a 2, a 1.
Bye.